Or, okay. So do we want to start? I don't know what the timing of,
Chief Schlittler,
yeah,
We could see if
Should
you
we
want to do
start?
it first.
yeah, we don't want to make him
Yeah.
wait, right?
yeah.
Absolutely. Chief Schlittler, I'm gonna invite you to speak and we will ask you to provide the police update if you are ready.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Obviously, we don't have anything in general happening in town, but obviously there is a lot of questions around immigration and so forth and our role in the police department, and what our responsibilities are and what we're allowed to do. I think the biggest message that we want to relay is that we can't enforce federal law. And there's a Supreme Court decision in 2017, the Lund decision, which really kind of outlines our ability to enforce federal law, and we can't, and we haven't. It does make a distinction between civil and criminal. There are some issues criminally that we would assist with. But in terms of the civil detainers that you would have for people that have come into the country undocumented or illegally, we cannot enforce those civil detainers, nor can we hold anybody on those civil detainers. So if we arrest somebody that would not be a U.S. citizen and they're scheduled to go over to court, we have to let them, as soon as we get the booking, we bring them over to court. As we're booking them, if the federal authorities reach out to us to ask them to hold that individual on a civil immigration detainer, we cannot. We have to bring them to court when the booking's done. And the message that we want is we want people to feel comfortable enough if they're victims of crime that they can come to us and report those crimes without fear of us, speaking or holding them for the federal officials, because we can't do that. And and so that's really the base message. There's a big difference. If there's something criminal, if there's a judicial warrant signed by a federal judge, then obviously we would assist. But if it's something that's a detainer, civil detainer, we don't. So one, we would just want people to know if they are a victim of crime or if they need something that they can come to us without fear. If one of the messages, this happened before, and one of the messages we wanted was, if something were to happen, that we would be on site to keep the peace and then to provide the people resources to, get the appropriate information and who to contact and to assist them in the issue that they're having. So we always want to keep the peace. But those were the main points that we wanted to get out.
So that's statewide. Would that be statewide?
Yeah, it's the Massachusetts. It's a Commonwealth of Massachusetts Supreme Court decision. It's called the Lund case, Commonwealth versus Lund, LUNN. I believe it was 2017. That really outlines what we can do as local law enforcement.
Okay.
Can I just ask, I just want to make sure I understand. So I was actually approached with a situation about a family, and typically one of the resources that has been used in the past has been one of the community police officers.
Yep.
but there was uncertainty as to whether or not that could be a resource, because I think there was fear that status was going to come out, and then I think it's unclear, then is law enforcement obligated to report that status? So I just want to make sure that.
No, we're not obligated to do that. I mean, the community resource officer, the community outreach officer is definitely still a source.
Okay.
The human side of it is important that, we provide those resources to all the citizens here in town, or all the residents of town. No, I mean, I think, we do interact with people that are undocumented or here illegally that, if they commit a crime for, say, no license or something of that nature, they go over to court. We don't, unless they have a criminal history or some other criminal behavior that would indicate that, somebody was, the federal authorities were looking for them. And it would have to be a serious crime. And I think, from my conversations with immigration officials and agents, is that they're going after the people with criminal records, and they're mainly, violence, drug trafficking, human trafficking, repeat violations or lengthy criminal history. Those are the people that they are looking for. And they don't have staffing to do anything else. And they're really going after people with, serious violations. So, no, we don't. If someone came to us for help, we're definitely not going to be reaching out to the federal authorities. The key would to get them the help that they need, and work from there.
Okay, and just to be clear, this has nothing to do with crime or anything like that. It's a housing issue. So I'm not.
No, and the reason I mentioned that was I think there's a lot of information, there's a lot of misinformation out there that they're going after people that are just here illegally, that have no criminal record, and that isn't the case as of now. So they should feel free to come to us if they have an issue. If it's housing, they could speak with our liaison to housing. And I've had numerous conversations with Dr. Gudikantz on his protocol and our protocol, and how, we would interact and work together on issues. So there's been a lot of communication about that. So I think everybody's in a spot where I think everybody understands what everybody's role is as it comes to, what our officers do, what the school does. And I think it's the best of the situation we're in right now.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
Hi, it's Chief Shitler. It's very nice to have you be with us for all those years you were part of the committee. It feels very nice, very familiar. It sounds like the operations of the police department in Needham are pretty much the same as they've been in the past. You look for criminals that need to be apprehended, and sometimes it's in conjunction with another town, because as you stop somebody, traffic stop, you discover there's a warrant, whatever. But it sounds like it's pretty much what you're doing is pretty much similar to how it's been in past years. Am I hearing it right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think, I mean, I don't think we've shifted in any means on what we do. It's kind of been the status quo on how we police and enforce, and the criminal side, that still the same, hasn't changed.
Anyone else? Thank you so much for taking time to join us and give us an update. We really, really appreciate it. And thank you for all you're doing.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate it. And you know, if you know people that are struggling, feel free to have them get in touch with me or, you know, my community outreach or community resource officer, and we'll get them the answers, you know, and point them in the right direction and resources.
Okay,
That's great.
definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I guess I wonder, did you read the thing that said that, houses of worship would no longer be sanctuaries?
I can report on that later if you want.
Okay, I mean. 'cause
That was
that's
the main,
different.
that was our topic. At the
At the
clergy
clergy
association,
association.
one of our topics.
Okay.
That is true. And people are,
Oh, I
Are
didn't know,
suing,
because
or-
Massachusetts, because of what, John just said, I just was wondering if Massachusetts was different.
Well, so can you still hear me?
she's
Yeah, yeah,
good.
yeah, oh, yeah, I didn't know you
Okay.
were still there.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I could, I'll go until the questions, you know, we're good. But this has been the case since, you know, for the last, I don't know, 8 or so years. You have to respond, or they're, you know, if they have a criminal warrant or signed judicial warrant, then the federal authorities can, and I don't know the federal law as it would in Massachusetts, but if I knew that they're in state law, if I knew somebody was in a place, say a house of worship, and they were wanted for a serious crime, and I had probable cause to believe that they were in that location, then I could get a search warrant for that party in that location. That would be the only reason. So that hasn't, and I don't know the federal, you know, what the federal, you know, laws or rules would be in terms of getting, you know, warrants, you know, but I mean, I think when I spoke, God, this was back probably 16, 17 or whatever it was the same message that the federal authorities armed with a warrant that they can, you know, this isn't a practice that they do. And I would assume it would not happen, but it'd be an extreme cases, that if they had a warrant, then they would be able to exercise their rights with that warrant and, you know, execute that regardless of where it was, a private home, a public place. So I think that's, you know, just so there's understanding on that.
Okay,
Because any state laws aren't, you know, they're not going to trump the federal laws. The federal laws have, you know, they have their own authority under their federal law and guidelines and policies, procedures, or whatever it might be, to exercise those laws.
these aren't laws, these are
I think
executive
it
orders.
was a policy that, it was like a.
They rescinded the policy.
Right, they called them sensitive locations, and it was like I think that what Chief's saying makes sense, like if somebody, if
Yeah.
they knew, that if they were running for somebody that had
Right.
committed a serious
A
crime, it
federal
wouldn't matter where
offense.
they were. But
There's
that-
a whole thing here.
But in general, it was like understood that they were not gonna go into places like schools or houses of worship or medical centers and things like that, but that's what he rescinded. And that probably the point of doing it is just to make people afraid to go to all those places, not that the likelihood that they're going to those places is any higher than they think it was.
And
Could someone comment about the fake warrants that we heard about at the meeting that was held at the center?
The fake, could you repeat that? Fake warrants?
Yes, someone was mentioning that there were some warrants that were really not.
they're not fake, they're,
They called them a warrant, but it wasn't, if it's not signed by a judge, they don't have to let them in.
It's
They
a-
were
Oh, right.
saying how the ICE
Right.
people sometimes
Oh,
would
yeah.
intimidate people and say you have a warrant, but when you actually looked at it, if it wasn't, like the chief said, if it was not a judicial warrant actually signed by a federal judge, it is not actually a warrant,
Right.
even though that's what they called the document.
Yeah.
yeah,
And I will
immigration.
say, I will say that their the federal authorities are really good about checking in with us locally. So that if they do have something, you know, obviously we would be part of that and we would look at it. For some reason, if they don't, we'd just encourage people to call us and we'll come down and verify. You know, I know there are some places that have put together kind of a policy, you know, like if somebody shows up, you feel free to call the local police and we could come down, verify who they are, who they work for, what type of, you know, paperwork they have. But like I said, 95% of the time they check in with us.
That's good to know.
That's very
Yeah,
good.
I think what people were thinking of, and this may have happened in some other areas, is back when some houses of worship were sanctuaries, they were not holding people who had criminal complaints on them. There were people whose crime was that they had come across the border and did not have all of their papers. I've never heard if people were, if somebody was wanting sanctuary who had a criminal record, they would not have been accepted.
Right.
So, and people in this town were involved with
Right.
a family that was in a church in another town. And we had a group that was called the Needham Circle for that group. But that was always an important part, that it was the only crime that they committed, or maybe they were in the middle of applying for asylum. So there's so many different statuses along the way to becoming
Yeah,
resident.
what I can say, you know, what I can say too is that I don't ever recall anybody going to a church or a school. Maybe they went to a church or school to get information, paperwork, but never to go in there to remove people. I haven't heard that. So, you know, I would never say it would never happen, but I don't see that happening whatsoever.
Thank you.
Okay, good, thanks.
We now have 7 people, or 6 and one on, 6 here and 1 on there.
2 on there.
But Marie, you said is,
No, she's,
oh, we have 8.
yeah.
She's not sworn in, so she can't vote.
Oh,
She can attend, but
I thought you could vote.
not until you're sworn in.
Oh, I thought you could vote, okay.
Any rate,
Okay, so do we have anything else for John to? Guess not, okay.
No.
just give us an idea.
yeah, thank you very much. You learned, I think we learned a lot. from
Yeah, that was great.
And you know what I'll do is I will send some of this information to Taylor. She could push it back out to you. I'll send you the kind of a cut up of that information that guides us, so that, you know, if people have questions, you can refer to that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. Good to see you.
Okay,
Yeah,
have a good night.
Yeah, good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Right.
Okay. I will go back to the minutes now that we have enough people to vote. Has everyone who was in attendance had a chance to review the minutes from last month?
Yes.
Thank you so much for doing them, Jen.
Sure.
Does anybody have any additions or comments?
I made the correction.
Yeah,
that you
under
told me.
absent that Lulu gets listed. Yeah. And I don't know what's happening with Liz Lee. She sort of drifted away, but that's another issue, to
Yeah.
see if we can get a school representative, since she seems not to be able to.
Okay. Okay, does somebody want to make a motion to approve?
So moved, I
Okay,
approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second it.
okay. Anyone opposed? Okay, minutes approved. I think next on the list is the report on the MLK Day program, Cynthia.
Okay. So first, I want to thank, or we want to thank all of the volunteers, many of whom were here. And people who were supportive, even if they weren't ill, or if they were ill or not able to come. Last night at the NDI meeting, people said but they very much appreciated the refreshments. Okay, for people who weren't there, here's copies. Whoops, sorry. I got caught in the edge here. I always try to get a few, and if you don't want to keep it, you can give it back and I'll give it to the businesses for next year if we're doing that again. So maybe since a lot of you were there, we could start with what were your impressions? And starting with the things that went well. That's how I always like to do.
I thought the turnout was great. I think it was an event that was desperately needed, and I think it was good that we had it, you know, with the proper effort with NDI. And people seemed to really enjoy themselves. Had a lot of nice conversations with people, and as always, the performances were great. Yeah, it was really enjoyable. It was kind of a beautiful thing to see. Yeah, even with the snow couldn't keep anyone away, which was awesome too.
And I think the not having a keynote speaker was
kept the
great.
flow.
Because
Yeah.
the kids, just, you lose the kids. And we have, I think it's so great that there's so many kids and families. It's
Yeah.
just, that's what it should be about. So that was really well done.
Another thing people have mentioned is how many of the high school kids. We had the bomb squad, we had Adonai Batista with his incredible talk, and then we had some other students saying parts of the I Have a Dream speech. And then, of course, we had the younger children.
Right.
Yeah, it was the Elliott Choir, I think, you're right, yeah, they were
That
fantastic.
was great.
Yeah, it was really cute.
And some people said how much they appreciated Brother Dennis this year. And it, you know, any of the performances vary from year to year. My personal feeling at the end, when we were singing We Shall Overcome and Lift Every Voice and Sing, is, and feeling the whole auditorium was filled. And tremendous variety of ages, backgrounds. This is the way we want the world to be. And this represents like the best of who we could be.
Agreed.
Yeah, well done.
So I brought the wrong thing of napkins. We need more napkins, but any other things, little things like that. I'm not writing it down. Other things that people think we could do better because we always want those ideas.
I don't have anything,
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
I don't know, it was really, like I said, it was a beautiful celebration.
was great,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what they did to get the word out was successful, and like I said, having the weather, it's
Oh
a
my
good
God,
excuse
I
to,
couldn't sleep.
yeah, it's a good reason to, you know, not come out and celebrate, but people did.
Yeah, so behind the scenes, we found out later from NDI, Raman Abrahamian was in touch with the superintendent, and the superintendent is the one who got them to prioritize clearing the parking lot and cleaning the end, cleaning off the snow so people could get into school.
That's great.
And these.
And
these
the high school kids and grammar school kids were just.
Yeah,
We lost Bud.
Yeah, he
had a
was
bad connection.
breaking up anyway.
yeah, and totally agree with that, but there's so much like that goes on behind the scenes. And like what you put on the list for Friday evening before that, it turned out they didn't specifically ask for the podium. And there was no podium. It must have taken an hour and a half to find the podium in the school. So next year that will be
Right.
on the list. But the being able to work together with NDI, and everybody who was there is just willing to do whatever is needed. So this is something to keep in mind as we go forward. And there's Hometown Weekly, front page.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if you keep up with the paper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we get it stack and.
And then-
town hall.
And then, Needham Local, the cable newsletter had a really nice article too with some different pictures. So, anyway,
Great, thank you.
and if anybody doesn't need this, I will give them out next time when we want to recruit. But if you want it for your files,
I'm happy to, I didn't have it back, but it was. Thank you for bringing them, I didn't get to see it.
I know you wanted to.
Bud hasn't come back on yet.
No.
Oh, he's from California. He's out in California.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
And do you want to give a report on the immigration forum?
Sure. We had over 100 people, I would say. in
at
that
least
room.
120.
It was, yeah, it was a very engaging talk. Heather did a really magnificent job kind of walking through some of the hard and fast details of things and also sprinkling in some personal stories of her journey in working with immigrants that I thought made it really impactful.
Mhm.
Her son Miles was adorable and all of the students were really, it was really sweet to kind of see how they fit into the whole scene. They had a really neat, I guess like an orientation video, it seems like that maybe they made for the students who were volunteering to go into the shelter to teach the music. That was a really neat way, I think, of orienting the high school students to kind of what they were walking into and who they were going to work with. I think that was really neat. At the end, we ended up staying later than we were supposed to.
Yes.
And I think that if the questions probably could have gone on till midnight. So it was really, I think people were really interested in what she had to say, and she was extremely generous with her time and willingness to kind of go with the flow. I think a lot of times when we do presentations like that, there's the speakers and the organizers kind of try to maintain a certain amount of control over how the questions get asked. You know, is that a repetitive question? Worrying about screening the questions beforehand, and Heather was just like, let him rip. So I think that was really incredibly generous of her. And I don't know how much activity the tables in the back got. We had tried to set it up with some local groups who were working with immigrants. And there was, I did see some people kind of mulling around back there. But overall, I think it was good. I think unfortunately, the state of affairs with immigration is like we could have that forum once a week from now until the foreseeable future, and everything's gonna be different and feel as urgent and on fire as it did that night. But, yeah.
I'm curious, Jim, how was the makeup of attendees? Was it like a lot of, you know,
The usual.
yeah,
Well, I think there are a lot of new people there.
Well, okay.
was it a lot of people that, you know, that from personal concern? Or was it trying to get
No.
information? Okay, yeah, so it
It
was a
wasn't the
lot.
people who were impacted.
Okay, so it was a
There
lot of
weren't-
advocates.
There weren't a lot of immigrants there that I knew of.
Yeah.
like,
I saw
so-
people lined up to talk with her and I was at a distance and I know what kind of conversation they were having. So you don't know, we don't always know.
Yeah.
People have family situations or somebody who works for them.
But there certainly was a lot of usual suspects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there were,
There wasn't like a lot of young families or anything like that in the room.
Yeah, but a lot of advocates for.
yeah, for instance, I had people from my house of worship who've never come to anything in Needham before. And I saw that they had a sign-up sheet for the Immigration Justice Task Force and the meeting. Is it just Monday of this week? I've been to so many.
Yeah, there was a.
Yeah, there were, I think, a number of new people there who had found out about it from the forum.
Great.
So they had
There were also people, like 30 people or something on Zoom, right?
36.
36, let's get it.
Oh, that's a big turnout.
And I
Yeah, that's
saw at
really-
least 2 fellow employees, so.
That's great. That's a huge turnout.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I said something to a friend and I said, oh, I thought I'd see you there. And she said, I was on Zoom. And so
Yeah.
obviously I didn't see her there.
Yeah, and a person from our house of worship, and who's an immigration attorney working in the courts, really wanted to come, but she has 2 kids, she couldn't come, so it was
So
great that she
the
was,
Zoom was great.
yeah, and she was following up on something.
Did she say how it was on Zoom? Because that was one of the things that we kept.
I
talking
think it
about,
was
like,
fine.
I think it was, she didn't say that it wasn't, and I
Yeah.
think she would have told me.
Yeah,
It
and
wasn't.
this person went, and anybody who wasn't there had a nice program. And I heard a lot of people say how impressed they were with the kids, and that was wonderful, because it's such hard information, important to hear that Heather was showing. But to see that commitment and excitement of the young people.
Yeah. Well, Miles is just like so poised,
Yeah.
so mature, so unbelievable.
And
Yeah.
it was such an incredible example of just humanizing people. which,
Yes.
You know, it's like they weren't getting help because they were immigrants. They weren't getting help with their immigration. Like, this was just kids going and teaching other kids how to play the violin, which
Yeah.
sounded really hard to do.
It's not an easy, having lived in the house with.
Yeah, the kids were so committed, the high school
really
kids.
neat.
It was really neat.
And I don't know which things I got from, but there were dispelling this about immigrants, but there were lots of really good handouts there, and the examples of the cards, your rights cards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm carrying that around in my purse. I don't, in case somebody needs it.
In case somebody needs
I
it,
don't-
here you go.
I don't know.
I had one in my car for a really long time.
You probably, maybe they should have these at town hall.
That's gonna be part of my update. We are ordering these for buildings across town.
Oh, that's
Great.
Hey,
That's
great.
great.
Actually, we probably can just jump to the town update. because
Oh, okay, great.
Greg
I'm
isn't here
sorry.
And the police already gave us, no, yeah.
Did
so
not mean to
No, 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 that's-
interrupt.
It was a good segue.
Yeah, we are placing an order. The manufacturer actually has sold out because across the country,
Yeah.
it's in high demand.
Right.
So we are actually seeing if our business card vendor will make them. If
Oh.
not, there are printable ones that you can like cut, fold and tape together. So we'll make it work regardless, because I think the information's important to get out there.
So they might not
Um,
know what we're talking about. We're talking
oh,
about,
This, we'll give this to her, see if she can get it, so they can.
Just hold it up to the owl and
Up to
it
the
so
should
it's a
owl.
know
match it,
your
yeah.
rights. Are you
Oops.
showing an
There you go.
English side?
Oh, let me see.
Yeah, flip that right over something.
Yeah, one side's in English and one is.
I don't know if
Geez,
it's,
that's cool.
Yeah, so we are
And then-
ordering for the town, the English, Spanish, English, Haitian Creole, English, Portuguese, and considering English, Russian,
Wow.
oh,
due to the town demographics.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
What about Mandarin or Cantonese?
Let me look,
because that's the largest,
That's what I
non,
thought.
Yeah, and where will they be distributed? Will they be in the schools?
I'm not sure about the schools because we're town HR, so, but we have meetings coming up with them, so we'll chat with them. The library,
oh,
town
where's
hall. Oh, I'll have to get back to you on other locations. I'm hoping I can find it here quick enough
Okay.
to actually provide some.
That's really great.
yeah, and whether any of the businesses might like to, or Needham Community
I was
Council.
thinking of
I'm
the
thinking-
hospital.
Oh, the hospital would be
The
number one.
hospital, but that's not a town. That's private, but boy, would that be
You
great.
can still offer them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
VI has great connections with the town, vice versa, right? Seems like a pretty
Yeah, we
much.
collab with Ock Health all the
Right.
time. Yeah,
And certainly you'd be in community council too. Probably a good
yeah,
place.
the thrift store.
Yeah.
People come from all over,
Absolutely.
Oh, that's a good idea.
and Gemma is here.
I didn't mean to jump right over it. Can you finish talking about?
oh yeah. Sorry, my apologies. English, Spanish, English, Chinese, Mandarin, and potentially English, Haitian Creole.
That's good. That's a good start.
At
Awesome.
Council on Aging, Library, Park and Rec Building, the Rosemary, the pool.
Yeah.
and the health department.
Great, excellent.
It's really good.
That's really all I had for the town update.
That was an exciting one.
That's a
That's
lot.
That's a good one.
It's a win, right?
It's a real win
Yes,
for
it
this.
And I know you're just catching your breath after running it. Is there anything from the school you have to update us on?
Not really. I'm working on trying to work on an event for, is it Trans Remembrance Day? With SPAC and QSU. So they're on board to do it. We're just gonna plan what we wanna do.
That's March 31st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Day of visibility, right?
Yeah.
And what are the other two groups say? Couldn't
The
quite get you.
Social Political Activism Club and the Queer Student Union.
Yeah.
And you said we, so is there another group that's working with those?
Yeah, I'm part of SPAC, so we're trying to work on an event for that.
So, Social Political Action
Activism Club.
Activism. Okay. Cool.
Is that something that you would like to talk about getting NHRC support for, or would the
Yeah.
adults
Ooh.
just run
Do you guys throwing around some ideas?
Not really. We just wanted to see if anyone was on board with it. And I think the leader of SPAC is gonna contact the QSU to see what they want to do.
Mhm.
That's great.
So we need to just kind of wait.
Yeah, we should have a plan probably in 2 weeks when we meet again.
So can we take a position of, we support, we're excited that you're doing this and we're available if asked?
Yeah.
Something like that?
For sure. I also did get an update from the woman who works at Fantastic, the school, and found out that the school was sending her on ICE training and on how to handle it if anyone does try to come into the school.
Marion?
Yeah. Do not let them come in the
She's
school.
gonna be able to handle that, no problem.
I think I would run away from her. If she tried to yell at me, so,
I feel safe.
Yeah, so,
Look at that.
so I was pleased to hear that that was like a priority. They wanted to make sure that,
Well, that's
Yeah.
great.
yeah.
Yeah, and
So-
the parents have gotten the letter from the school about how they're handling things, but it hadn't been out to the community, so I can't remember if I just sent it to you and Keith or,
You did send it to us.
Yeah,
but maybe the rest of the people on the Human Rights Committee would like to see that, because it seemed to me like it was a good statement about kind of like what Chief Schlittler said about what the rules are, but also what they do within the schools.
So did it come from the superintendent? or
Yeah,
the
from the
school committee?
superintendent.
Okay,
My apologies. I can't remember who I sent.
So-
this to.
I can forward it. to
I
you
wonder
guys.
if I get the superintendent's
Then
update.
you probably got it.
I think I
It's to
did-
the
It
need,
was January 30th.
I think I probably saw it.
and it said that
Sounds
they'd heard a
familiar.
report that one student hadn't come to school
Oh, yeah.
because of being afraid, and they
Yeah.
said one student was one too many. They
Mhm.
wanted everybody to
Yeah,
feel
I
safe,
did see it.
and these are the things they're doing, so. And I think that makes me feel good about being in this town, that we can count on our leaders to do the best they can to provide a safe.
In this town and in this state, we cannot leave.
Yeah.
Can we do something like, post on Facebook page or something? Is there a way to amplify it?
Yeah, because not everybody would see it. if
Do you
they
know-
aren't
Yeah,
as-
we totally can do that. That's-
The
I mean,
Dan Gutkamp's letter to the Needham Public Schools community, I think.
Yeah.
Whether there's a way
Well,
we
it's
can
public,
make
so we
that.
could probably
Right,
put it on our Facebook
He
page.
put, right, and his blog is public. It's all public. We wouldn't be sharing anything we shouldn't be. I am happy to do that.
There's probably a link to it somewhere on the,
Probably a link somewhere.
that,
Yeah, but through the schools, but
Yeah.
not,
yeah, but I'm saying, like,
I mean,
I
people,
don't know how you young people share these things.
but people who don't have kids in the schools,
Right.
either,
They would not. right,
either
they
people
wouldn't
who are younger, or kids are out of school.
It was at the Clergy Association meeting last Tuesday, where the whole focus was on immigration services and what to do about ICE. That was the whole meeting. And we had somebody come in by Zoom from JALSA, Jewish Alliance for Legal and
Law and
Thank you.
social action, maybe?
And I got lots of materials from them about advocacy, state legislation that's pending.
Okay, so I guess what we can move on to next is any other items that may not be on the agenda, but we wanted to discuss. I know Keith and I were approached from, concerned citizens looking to know if we could make some sort of statement saying we support our community members that might feel uncomfortable with everything going on. And we just weren't really sure what we could do, how we could say it, knowing our kind of constraints. We certainly would not try to come out and say anything against any particular, political side, but just more sort of saying, which is what we do as a Human Rights Committee, which is why I struggled with it, is we support anyone who feels like their rights are not being, anyone in our marginalized communities and anyone feeling vulnerable. I mean, that's what we hope we're here for, so that they feel like they can come to us, but I didn't know how people felt or what their thoughts are on, is that something we make a statement about?
I think we do. So the select board vision, says something like that. It's definitely more broad.
Yeah.
So I think that if we can craft something along those lines to sort of maybe reference that as the select board is sort of leadership in our town.
Do they say something new or just?
No, it's just, yeah, it's a vision, or even looking at their, sort of their strategic, they do their goals every year. That's definitely within inclusivity,
It sounds insane that we have to come out and publicly support
that's like what we
diversity,
do, right?
equity, inclusion.
Yeah.
It sounds like
It's actually
who
what we
would have
talked
to
about
come out
at
and say
the
that,
Real Coalition.
but
Yeah.
evidently we do. I think we
Well,
may have
it's
to.
It's under
It's under
attack.
attack. I poked around in ChatGPT to get a ballpark of how many. And I am not using DEI. Diversity, equity, inclusion. I saw that someone, I thought that was kind of brilliant, that if you're gonna,
Say the
if
word.
you're going to be against it, and now if we're going to
Have to
support
say
it,
it.
we
Yeah.
should say what they are,
Yeah.
so that we can all be very clear. But they said 50 to 75 diversity, equity, inclusion related policies across federal agencies have executive orders that they're under these,
Under.
they're under attack. And so,
Scrubbing websites.
yeah, I mean,
literature and all
it's
that.
hard to believe that this stuff is actually happening. And
But
so
it
I
is.
think, yeah, I think anything that we can do as a human rights committee in conjunction with the select board to reiterate how supportive we are
Well, so
for
not only
diversity,
in
equity,
conjunction with the
inclusion.
select board, but I also think to disseminate that and ask all town committees, because
Right.
Another one of the committees that I'm on, that came up, and I think it's the same thing. That committee leadership is grappling with whether or not it's actually within the charter to say something, which of course, I.
Have you heard any decision? I was gonna say, are you waiting on does the
An
committee
email.
have to wait for a decision, I suppose? So
Yeah,
is that,
we're
is
still, we're still talking about it.
okay.
But,
But Human
finance-
Rights Committee and Select Board, I think is a no-brainer at this point.
So I think that if we can come up with something that is, strongly worded.
Yeah.
Yeah, it isn't going to be, I think there's a way to do it without being political.
Mhm.
Right. And make sure that it is, it can be something that very similar to Newari, right? Everybody signed on, and the pledge went out.
That same
Everybody signed
paragraph.
that pledge. So why can't we do something like that for this?
Sounds like somebody's trying to say something.
No, he's not.
Oh,
I mean,
Um,
that's what puts it in the purview for all of the committees, even. just-
Well, and then even this other committee, I mean, they have to go back and see if they actually signed the pledge.
the
So,
pledge.
the
The
Nuwari
Nuwari
pledge.
pledge.
Oh, right, the new
So
one.
I think.
We
that
do have a
this
pledge.
is
We don't need to
you know,
come
it's
up
not
with a new one.
unprecedented, Right, so there are, between the select board vision and their strategic plan for the town, sort of what we stand for, and the fact that the town has done this before and has asked all leadership across committees and across organizations to sign on for this, with regards to race. It's not an unreasonable thing to do.
Right,
I think we need to
Like, if you're
some,
not gonna do it, they kind of.
That's
Say about you.
I think that's a great way to do it through the Nuwari thing, because that was a town initiative, not that we aren't related, but going back to something that was, yeah, and I hope that somewhere we highlight about trans people.
So then the
Absolutely.
message, so somebody had written into this committee and that's exactly what it was about. It was about LGBTQ.
But yes, and I
Same
feel like it's
person.
all of that. It's, we would mention all of that, I feel like.
Yes,
that's
yes, 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 yes.
100%.
so do we think, because I know I saw the pledge, and I'm poking around to see if I can actually see it, but does it cover, I mean, the idea that it may not cover all the things that we have to come out in support of?
It doesn't have to. We can still,
But I'm saying, like, maybe, do we still come up with our own instead of,
Well, we have a statement and refer to that.
yes, okay,
right, I
Right.
think we still have our own.
that's, yeah, do we need like a
And have a paragraph like that we
working
lifted
group
one.
just put that together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that in the discrimination complaint
No,
thing that you?
Our statements go off really well.
We're gonna try really hard to get it right, we're gonna try to do it well. Yeah, exactly.
This is a follow-up to our early statement after the election.
Yeah.
Because then we said we would, once things started unfolding, then we would be,
Yes, before the election, that's right, Carrie, yeah.
this was that we would wait to
Follow
see
back up, right,
what other things we needed to say.
I think we know now.
And if we don't say something, it looks kind of like, oh, well,
Well,
what are
yeah,
they
for
waiting
sure.
for? It's like happened.
No, and I think that's some of the frustration and concern that we heard from the concerned residents were that they, I think they hoped that they would have seen something already. And we tried to say, like, it's a process, unfortunately, as painful as it is, that we'd love to just, I mean, we'll shut it out right now, that we support everyone in this town,
Right.
diverse, equitable, and inclusive. But yeah. I
You
think
guys seen the thing on Facebook? I just pulled it up. It's called DEI includes ramps and sidewalk curb cuts, subtitles and captions on TV and phone, family restrooms, changing tables in men's restrooms, breastfeeding, pumping stations and accommodations, floating paid holidays, pay equity and transparency, parental leave, time and pay, coming back to a job after birthing a child, not having to just accept workplace harassment, work accommodations for a variety of disabilities, flexible work arrangements, size inclusive chairs and beds in medical facilities, and belt extenders on planes. I mean, isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
Maybe you've seen this list, but
I have.
yeah.
So I think one of the challenges that we have is figuring out what these executive orders need them, because I think like trying to figure out what, for example, whether or not it's gonna affect any of the funding that we have. Like, to me, I don't know where we find out that
Good
information.
question, Jen.
Because I
Well-
feel like, I get the desire to hear just like a general, we're still in this with you message. But to me, the bigger question is, look, where will we see these policies, these declarations he's making play out here? Is it going to impact whether the real coalition continues to meet? Or is it going to, like, I think those are the things. I'm trying to think of the gender piece, like,
Medicare, the Medicaid thing, that's a
Yeah.
huge thing for the state of Massachusetts. It's
Oh, yeah.
massive.
Right.
Well, we have some housing
Like,
developments coming through the
housing.
CPC, the Community
Infrastructure.
Preservation Committee, and I asked that question, what do some of these executive orders. Hundreds of them now, I think, at this point. Like, how will this affect potential federal funding to support these desperately needed, this desperately needed support for building community housing in town? And unfortunately, the answer was, we don't really know because
Right.
it's
Yeah,
happening
that's the thing,
so
we don't know.
fast.
But it's not even just sort of what you would think about.
No, right,
as-
exactly right. It's not even that simple. Yeah,
Or.
it's like
sort of those
everything.
types of public projects.
Yes,
like
yes, I
the
agree.
things Like
Yeah.
roads, right?
Right.
Or things that are.
Yes, the things like Marlene just
Are
went
much
on the
more
list,
down the
exactly
road,
right.
right?
Oh, we can't
You
do
wouldn't
this
even
because
think
it's
about.
for aging
Right.
and we can't
Right.
discriminate against people who aren't old
What
or
about
something.
the, about the stuff you said about gender, and are there
Oh, there's only two
town-
genders.
Right, like other town level things where,
This is probably where we have to lean on the select board, right? At
I
some
don't know-
point,
I don't
because that's
know.
like the,
Or town council.
like, are there town things?
I mean,
I mean, cause like you're voting,
You mean like in the, in sports, like,
no, I wasn't even thinking about sports, I was thinking about like, when they were talking about passports and things like that, but like
Oh.
that's outside of the town's
Yeah,
purview.
that's-
If they come
Are
to
there
the town,
town level decisions?
yeah, like if you sign up to run for an office, do you have to identify your gender
Like
as
that-
part,
that's a good question,
are they
yeah.
collecting
oh,
information
like
about
for
people?
town meeting or something?
Yeah,
Or
okay.
if you apply to be on the Human Rights Committee, do you have to
I
say
can't
what your
remember
gender
whether you
is?
do or not.
Do you know that?
I am not sure.
Well,
I'll
I
have
don't
to check
think it's
on
on the
that and elected
application.
officials. I'm not sure when you go to pull papers in the town clerk's office.
It would
I'm
be
not
in-
sure
that
if
would
you have
be
to identify your
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure you don't.
gender.
Yeah.
When I
think
was
you do.
helping somebody
I don't think so.
You do have to
get
for driver's
connected with
license.
the
Oh,
town
that's right.
seal
That's a
committee, they said,
state thing.
oh,
right,
what
a
are
state,
her,
and a
what
passport
are the
is
person's
federal.
pronouns? I said, well, I don't know,
I
I
don't know when you
think.
register your child for school.
That's, maybe you're no
That's a
longer
good
allowed
question.
to
Mhm.
put people's
I bet-
pronouns.
I bet you do, but I don't remember.
But the schools do such a great
I
job.
would
They probably
assume
have,
for school registration, because you have to provide medical documentation as well for like vaccines and
Well,
stuff like
and
that,
birth,
right?
you have to have a birth certificate,
And
right?
birth
Yeah, right.
certificate
When
that
you-
you would
So
have
that
to.
has gender on it.
Right.
I will say, at this time, we have not changed our employment application, like the EEOC part of it. We have
So,
not.
do we need to take a vote to see if we should, to make a
To
statement?
make a statement.
And then who's gonna write the statement?
And what we did before was get a general idea and then commission them to do the wording. That was,
Right.
how-
Whoever volunteered to do it, yeah.
yes. Do we have any Solomons here?
So, is anyone opposed to us putting out a public statement?
No.
No, but shouldn't we take the vote for a public statement?
Yeah.
Okay, does somebody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I move that the Human Rights Committee makes a statement about the rights of all, or kind of reiterates, is the way I would say it, that everyone, we protect everyone's rights in this town.
I second it.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Do you have to do a roll call
So
vote? Since
moved.
it's not-
I don't think we do.
No.
Okay.
So I just,
Do we?
Oh, yeah,
the
he
Needham
seconded
preschool
anyways.
application, it does ask for gender, but it's a blank space, it's not a
It's
selection.
It's not a selection. That's interesting. Okay, so who's gonna craft it or draft it or whatever?
I'll step forward, yeah.
Yeah, we can do it.
Okay.
Work on it
Okay,
together.
and
Sounds
then you, do they need to?
We say it this
consult a
way.
lawyer or anything like that?
We'll bring it to you after.
I would think it, as long as it's in the purview of the Human Rights Committee and in alignment with the select board's vision and goals that are publicly available.
Right, similar to the way we did it for the statement before the election. We were able to do it, so we'll keep within those guidelines.
Okay, thanks.
And then at some point, I suppose, do we do any kind of coordinated effort with the select board?
I think we
Yes,
will
then-
have to, just if we want to get support.
Right,
from
we come up with a statement and we
everybody.
ask.
Yeah, just,
Okay, that makes sense.
planning board,
Right.
finance committee, I don't think we can just send that out on our own.
No, right,
It has
exactly.
to be something
Yeah.
that comes from them.
So
That
we
makes sense.
consult
They make
with
the
them,
ask.
before distribution?
If we want to include all of those.
Right,
Yes.
exactly right. So we'll come up
Or
with a
is
statement
that-
on our own.
Yes.
And then we'll bring it to the select board and ask that they,
Ask
Come on.
everybody else. to do it.
exactly.
So are we asking whether they want to endorse it or just distribute it?
We're gonna put out a statement no matter what.
Yeah.
Our
oh,
hope is that we can get all of the town committees to
Right.
also be part of
Sign
it
up.
Okay, I just want to get this.
And how will you communicate with
through
them?
the select board.
Yeah,
Through the select board, okay. So we.
It'll be up to the select board to go up to the other.
Right.
Okay,
To endorse or sign on,
Yeah.
sign
Good.
on.
Mhm.
Yeah, sign on and possibly others.
that's,
still very confusing that we have to do this. It's just like, I'm trying not to pay attention.
Yeah,
but it's
but you know,
hard to
this
pay
thing-
attention. It's too many
This thing
things.
happened, it's unreal.
Yeah.
And we have to,
Yes, exactly right. So you got it.
My apologies for going backwards. I can confirm that the committee volunteer interest form does not ask you to identify your gender.
That's it. Well, once that's ahead.
thank you.
That's great.
Yeah, no problem.
Good to know.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important to do these kind of things, to make sure that we stay
Right.
firm where we stand. Despite happening nationally,
Mhm.
if we can.
Okay, that's
Oh.
great.
That's great.
there was something, a couple things that I sent to you.
What?
And I can't even remember anymore, but one thing you might like to know is that, gotta get the right name, but the NRN first cohort that became the Community Response Committee, I think it's called. I have it here. Their next meeting is on Wednesday.
The 19th.
And
Yeah.
if I can get the thing here. All right, here we go. CRC.
So that's different than the NRN.
It's the follow-up of the Needham Resilience Network. There's a number 2 cohort now, but this is number 1. Community Response Committee will identify and discuss fears, concerns related to recent federal executive orders that have been shared by local residents connected to immigrant, trans, and BIPOC communities. This is next Wednesday.
Oh, that's great.
Identify the roles, obligations, and thinking, planning on this issue that may be taking place for town bodies, such as schools, select board, and police department. Discuss if and how the CRC might act or communicate or support other town and civic bodies wishing to act, communicate around these issues. Provide an update on the idea. This was something that we talked about, having a community pledge. And the group includes people like the superintendent of schools, town manager, and various police chief, various other Board of Health, et cetera. It's a large representative of many different groups and people. I don't know how many are going to appear then, but it just is so, people often say, well, what are they doing? So that's an example of how it,
Interesting that they're having it during school vacation week.
well, they put out a
Oh, they did a doodle poll?
doodle
Yeah, I
poll
saw
with
that,
like
yeah.
20 different for people to
So
respond
the
to.
current people that are on NRN are not in this meeting.
I don't know. Did it?
Well, not,
It said
I'm
this
in
is
cohort
a-
too,
yeah,
so
community response. Committee.
I didn't know
Yeah.
anything about it.
Yeah, it's from the first group. Again, I don't run it, I'm just,
They're just announcing.
and I think it fits with at least the concerns. You can look, you were
No, no,
involved
no,
in
that's-
saying it.
No, that's.
Yeah, that's.
Can I bring up, we were supposed to, I thought, talk about the housing issue that Tina brought up last meeting, that we were all supposed to think about possible speakers and what we might want to do. And so I reached out to the Mass Human Rights Committee. What? You saw my email? And I got literally, we have a list of resources. That's all someone listed. So nobody had an idea for a speaker around housing. So I don't know if anyone, and I didn't know about anybody. So I didn't know if anyone else had done any research on that or thought about that, because I thought it was such a good idea that you brought up last time.
Does anybody know? Like what Wellesley did with the MBTA? Communities.
Oh, I'm trying to remember.
I can reach out to Amy Benjamin, who is very involved in that, who belongs to our temple. And also I can reach out to GBIO and see if they might have some speakers also.
Oh, GBIO actually
Yeah.
would be great.
Oh, yeah,
Perfect, yeah.
we had them very.
Okay, that's great.
The,
Then I had one other thing. So we got that request from Rabbi Keith Stern, who's in the Human Rights Commission in Newton. And so I didn't know, because I think you said you would reach out.
I
I said,
emailed him and just said that we were having our meeting tonight and that some members of the committee mentioned connecting with you in person and we'll be in touch. So,
oh,
that's kind of how I,
okay, because I could
okay,
in March, but I can't do it before March.
okay. Do you want to email him and let him know?
Yeah, I can get in touch.
Okay.
with him.
So he knows somebody from our committee is gonna be reaching out
Yeah.
about getting in touch, so I just wanna make sure that somebody responded to him.
Okay, I don't know if anybody else wants to meet with him.
so after March, then we would.
Yeah, I'm going away till March 1st, tomorrow, 7:45, I'm leaving.
Where you going?
I'm going to Siesta Key, Florida.
Sounds nice,
Very
yeah.
nice.
And then,
In the
in
70s, everybody.
the minutes from last time mentioned about that Carrie and Tina were willing to join the planning group for the community conversation.
Yeah, we already attended one of the
Yeah.
meetings, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I think that looks good, and we just have to figure out how to get people to come. And we don't have a date, but
That's
that's,
actually the topic of the next meeting is marketing.
Right.
Oh,
so, but just to kind of bring things back to this group, but thank you.
Can I just bump back to the housing thing, Bud?
Oh.
It would be great if we could have this housing thing before town meeting, because we're actually gonna, on the warrant is we have to revote now on the base plan. So it'd be nice to have some sort of just
Yeah,
primer on
I agree.
housing and,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
That's
to
in
try to
May.
do something before May town meeting. So if you wanna connect about your contacts at,
GBIO.
yeah, just so we can get the ball rolling there.
And Mara Lanza is also someone I can be in touch
Because I think it
with.
would be really nice for people to have a better understanding of what that means before the, I mean, we have to vote it yes, otherwise we're gonna be out of compliance again, but just so people have an understanding of what really it is.
So is the neighborhood plan also gonna be back on the?
No,
table?
No.
that's done.
No,
No.
that's dead.
Dead in the-
Dead in the water.
So is the Needham Housing Council, whatever it's called, doing any more
No,
programs?
yeah, no, I think, well, actually, I think the planning board is meeting tonight.
The planning board, yeah,
To basically, I mean, it's the exact
Yeah,
Exact
they're
same
changes.
plan,
Yeah,
yeah.
because the
Yeah.
warrant's already out, so I think they just, they're doing the same.
yeah, and it's like both of them approved at least tentative,
I think they
Preliminary.
still have to, I think they still have to go through
the
a public
process.
mean.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they still have to. do
They're
that.
back at
This-
ground one,
Exactly.
yeah.
But they're
Yeah.
just, it's just gonna be the same.
Yeah, I think this time there's not much contention, at least.
But yeah, at
Well,
least, you
I
know,
hope-
at least people have some better education about it, you know.
Yeah, and if that, the GBA sense, I mean, I'm looking them up now, I know the acronym sounds familiar, but there are a couple other housing groups that I've gotten to know in the last 6 months that may also be willing to come and,
Yeah,
that are
I'm
really
trying to
good.
think of the one that begins with C, we had them come there.
yeah. I think of it. I have to look at my emails.
Yeah, I'm on a bunch of,
They
Yeah.
could-
Is that Chapa?
Joppa. I think they would be good because we're having a group that has a broader view than just organizing, which GBIO is fantastic at doing, but maybe to look at both of them.
Yeah. I'm sure we can find somebody, but I guess you're right, getting it in before town meeting probably makes the most sense. Agreed.
yeah, I just looked to see the response. The response was from the Network for Social Justice in Winchester. And she said, we'd also be interested in compelling speakers. That doesn't help me, on a four.
Yeah, because are we looking at, I guess my only thought is I know that there are lots of housing advocates in town.
No, but I think.
You want something,
It has to be
yeah,
outside
okay,
of.
that's
Yeah.
what, all right, that's what I,
Gotcha.
that's what I thought you meant.
Well, there's Abundant Housing Massachusetts.
It's gotta
Oh,
be it.
abundant,
this-
thank you.
Abundant
That's
housing
exactly the one that I
And
was
Wel-
thinking.
and Welcoming Neighbors Network.
Abundant housing, I've
Yeah.
chatted with a few times in the past, and they're a good, they're a good group for sure. And very focused in the MBTA Communities Act. So they, I can't remember the guy's name.
Was
Oh,
it-
that's not
what was it
quite
when
the
you
name.
mentioned
Oh,
besides
here he is,
abundant
Jesse.
housing?
But
Welcome,
Yeah, there was, okay, which one? That was,
welcoming neighbors.
it was called Welcoming Neighbors Network.
Yeah.
They
this
released a
is-
guide on how to build a new pro-housing group in your town or city.
Sorry.
That's
So
what
one-
we need. Should I
what-
send
what
you
are-
this?
Yes.
But what's the initials for that again?
You think of a starting one, people?
CH,
God.
oh, well. maybe
Yeah,
that's
this was
him.
the guy I met,
I
Jesse
think it's
Keats.
CHAPPA, but I can check and let you know.
Okay, just
Yeah,
send you that.
I know,
Thank you.
I could find it eventually.
Well, it's very slow.
It's okay.
So I don't know if it's really, it'll probably get to you late tonight. I don't think I don't have,
Yeah, Jesse is the executive director from this Abundant Housing Massachusetts, and I know they've done a ton of work.
Huh.
Trying to, on the MBTA Communities Act.
Huh, sounds interesting.
If Bud doesn't get anyone, I'm happy to reach out to him, because he was great.
Great.
Mhm.
good.
Can, before we close, can I make an announcement? That's not really an agenda thing.
Sure.
People probably have seen this. Last night, NDI wanted to do something, and so several people decided that just stand out on Saturday morning, say we believe in being inclusive and committed to everybody being part of a diverse community, and bring your signs. So Saturday, 9:30 to 10. We will experience the power of connection and community as we gather on Needham Heights Common by the Heights train station to show support for all community members. Please bring a sign to show support, welcome, affirmation, and solidarity. The important thing is to be together. Bring your own beverage, and DI will bring the cookies. So that's the kind of thing we can't do, but it's nice to know.
You know. Do you mind if I just add one thing too, because I can't remember, I don't know when our next meeting is, so I don't know if you have
The
that.
third,
March.
Oh, okay, good.
Third.
No, because I know the, that film series,
Oh,
What's
yeah.
Normal Anyway, has, the next, movie is The Right to Read, so about literacy, which is kind of a hot topic in town.
Well, it was
Yeah.
just an article about literacy in
Oh.
the
The
Observer
Observer.
today.
yes,
Yes, so their film is being shown March 12th. Yeah, there's a lot to be discussed.
I was on the panel for the one that they just did on
In a different key, right?
Tuesday.
Yeah,
was that?
yeah, I heard it was a good turnout too, right?
That was
Didn't it?
really-
Yeah,
oh, good.
What was
because I
the,
couldn't-
what was the?
Autism.
what
yeah.
was the
Oh,
autism?
that's
really
really
fantastic.
important, yeah.
And it made me realize just more stuff for us to worry about.
Right.
That I feel like sort of there's a community CPAC and within the schools, but I'm realizing after attending this event and listening to families that it's very insular and they don't really seem to have town resources. So for example, there isn't a summer camp at Parks and Rec. If there is a summer camp that's nearby here, but it's something like $6,000 for, a handful of weeks. Other resources just seem to be support, that type of thing.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. Does the child, because I only
Well, I put
think
this
of
woman in
this.
touch with Stacy Mulner at Parks and Rec, so they could try to work something
Well, that's
out.
right,
There's
but-
no, it just doesn't
Well,
seem
is it
like
the
there's
child's
more
service program?
town support. I feel like they're sort of trying to piece things together on
Right.
their own or trying to figure out where they can find support.
Wow.
And I don't know, my wheels just started turning. If there
Yeah.
was a way to try to create more town-wide support for these
Mhm.
families so that they don't feel like they're just sort of relying on each other or not knowing where to go
Yeah.
for basic things. Even, I talked about businesses and how businesses can be more inclusive.
Yeah.
Maybe like a training by Health and Human Services, right? So
Great
when somebody with
idea.
autism walks through your door, there's certain
Yeah.
behaviors or things to look for.
And
Not
some-
escalating a situation, right?
Right.
Because there are a lot of sensory issues, for example. So
Right.
you want to be aware of that, but you wouldn't know that if you don't have the proper
Yeah.
training.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
The police department has that training, right? Teachers have that training,
Yeah.
but the business community doesn't have that training.
Yeah.
I'm
but-
happy, Tina, I'm happy to reach out to my son who works with children on the spectrum as well as his wife. And they're in New Jersey, but to see if they have any resources or things that I could get to you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's just something to think about. I mean, there was a gentleman at the end of the movie that was saying, everybody expects people of autism to adjust to, the regular world.
Mhm.
From his perspective, we need to make more accommodation to meet them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I wonder if the child service center would be, because I know, I mean, I'm just thinking of, because at a CPC meeting, they have this community housing thing that they're working on, and I know they have great ties to the town, through the Exchange Club too. I've seen all the stuff that they do. So maybe they're a good resource, they're a local resource. I don't know what
Charles River
they're,
is more mental retardation.
I think it's
Then-
everything too.
Yeah, I think
People on the spectrum also.
It is, yeah, well,
Yeah,
the only
there's
reason
a
why.
lot.
I mean, they must have.
overlap.
changed.
too.
Yeah, well, and it's fresh in my mind because what's today, Thursday, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, it was a CPC meeting, and they told us about their proposal that coming for some support from CPC for this, it's actually gonna be, it's this gonna be state of the art support. Community.
The
housing.
Needham has the Bierman Center on Hillside, which may be a place we could go. And also
That's right,
the
but I think that's another one.
What's the name of that again?
Bierman, I believe it's Bierman.
Oh,
It's
Yeah, that sounds familiar too.
Hillside.
Mark.
And also the New England Center for Children in Southborough, right over the Framingham line. Those may be two resources we could see if we
Yeah.
can get some
But they
information.
keep making a point, at least because of it, they actually had a meeting early in the day with MIT, who's helping them develop like state-of-the-art, cutting-edge ways to help support their clients that have autism with a wide range too, right? Well, that's, yeah, they have people that can live on their own and people that need, 100% support, some that need 75, and they're coming with an amazing project that.
CPC is,
So the Charles, CRC, the Charles
Oh.
River Center is coming to the CPC for, with an application.
CPC.
Oh, sorry, Community Preservation Committee.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, thanks.
Yes, sorry. It's that, and so we were just knee deep in this yesterday, and I knew the work that they did, but when it was kind of put right in front of you, the lives that they affect and how they
Yeah.
take care of their families, it's
Oh, it's
really kind of
incredible,
amazing.
yeah.
So like, that would probably be a good coordinating resource to put in touch, and I know they have great ties with the town, they have great ties with the community.
I just
It's a
get
great
the feeling
idea.
that a lot of these families don't feel, they just don't feel supported within the community, right? So it's, and they want to be able to go to the grocery store, they want to be able to go
Yeah.
to Rosemary, they want to be able
Yeah.
to,
And some places,
attend events here at Powers Hall.
Some
I mean,
places-
without, how do we
Yeah.
make that happen?
Yeah,
like,
Yeah.
the Discovery Museum in Acton.
Yep.
That have particular evenings that are for children who have sensory needs or neurodiverse, and that wouldn't be such a hard thing to do for a number of
the
businesses.
Exchange Club did it for the 4th of July parade, who they had enacted.
Yeah.
I'll use Quiet Zone, but I'm also a Quiet Zone supporter outside, but
Yeah,
a
let's get
Quiet
the right
Zone for,
Quiet Zone.
yeah, this is a Quiet Zone. So they, the performance wouldn't fire their muskets off.
Oh,
and-
right.
Yeah, it was just like, Exchange Club's been around forever, but they took that leap because they had
Yeah.
heard that
Yeah.
it was something that was needed, and
That's
it
great.
worked out great. People, we get emails all the time from
Yeah,
people who are
that can really
thrilled
trigger
that that is
people.
something,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And
It
some
makes a
people
big
with
difference.
hearing impairments, they
Exactly
can't
right,
use their
yeah.
hearing aids for a conversation if you're in the middle of,
Well, that's right. Yeah, but I think that's a great idea. Tina, to see if there's
So-
some way to
Yeah.
highlight
we
those.
all benefit when we take care of people who have needs that aren't apparent.
Agreed.
I will just add that, I know y'all collaborate with, NDI quite often. I think depending on what we're thinking in this realm, there could be an opportunity to collaborate with the Commission on Disabilities.
Okay.
Oh,
My
yes.
supervisor's the liaison for that one,
Ah,
so.
there you
Yeah,
go.
they have
Perfect.
contacted
I have
us.
an in.
They've contacted us some.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great crossover,
Yeah.
especially on resource providing, training for businesses,
Training would
things
be
like that.
fantastic.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Just training for businesses.
I
You
can get a
know,
new
come up
page.
with decals, you know, some sort of,
Yeah, it's a good idea.
so that people know that they're welcome and
It
they're,
seems so obvious when you
it's a
say
good,
it.
it's a safe environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, there's more, I'm just throwing more stuff on our plate.
Well, Taylor's taking notes and Cynthia's writing it down too, so I think we're making progress.
Well, she's making it happen. I'm just saying we talked.
I
about
think
it.
so.
Oh,
Well,
we
now-
talked about it.
But Cynthia,
Hey.
you're putting it on the record and that counts.
So who's gonna read it?
Now it's official. I think it's a great idea.
Put it in the annual report.
Oh, who's doing that?
I don't know.
Oh, God.
It went off into the
Yeah, but I
sunset.
think when Amelia did it, she was like collecting it as.
As we went along.
Yeah.
Well, she hasn't changed her email yet. She
Yeah.
still has the same
I
email
always-
address, right?
I always wondered how you got 20 pages when the other people got 2, but.
Oh, God. Okay.
Anyone have anything else?
No.
This is a question that's gonna come from a place of total ignorance. Is there anybody in the camp that was supporting the referendum on the housing thing that would be a potential person to like collaborate with on trying to do some kind of education programming here in town? Like as a way of trying to like
Across the,
build some bridges and like get different people in the room. Like, I feel like if we do one,
yeah.
we know who's gonna be there.
Yes, yes.
I'm like, we're great, but we're not the people we need to change minds for, right?
Are there any reasonable people?
That's a reason, that's a qualifier.
I wanna make sure, because I'm, this was I was heavily.
We can't
I
stop the
said-
recording.
Hardcore guesser,
A
and
total
so.
place of ignorance, like, I really,
No, but as, just, do you mind saying it well, because I was thinking as you were saying it, Jen, but so.
I'm just
the-
thinking like the goal of this, right, is so we get more people in town to understand history and the need and
Right.
like why we're talking about this.
But if the only people we have,
Right, and the people that
Already
already
know.
know that we should
We
do
already
it.
know
Okay.
why restricted housing
Right.
is bad.
But the other people,
Zoning, restricted zoning.
they're anonymous.
Not so
Right.
much anymore.
Oh, now you know who they are?
And they're not gonna show up at a program because,
Oh,
They-
Like,
They
what
are,
if you-
I mean, I think that,
Invite them.
you know, I think that
It'd be different.
this has stirred up a lot of passion in people on both sides. And I think that it stirred up enough passion that people have decided to, you know, join the conversations, run for town meeting, become, you know, get in the room, you know, where these conversations and ideas kind of start. And so I imagine we probably could find somebody to do that now, where maybe before it wasn't so easy. I think you'd have to put some thought into it. I mean, I think there's probably some people.
and we won't ask Keith to be the one.
No, I'm just running through a mental list of, I think it's a good
Like,
question,
like
Jen,
the
yeah.
people who were not against the base plan, but who thought that the neighborhood plan went too
far.
far. Like, are there those people that might be invested in teaching the general community
Right.
about why this is a good idea?
Mhm.
Who? I think that would take
Were
some more
there-
thought.
were there-
I think that, yeah, it's a good
Were there
question.
no light people? who were like,
Yeah.
"No way."
There were some people who voted against it because they felt that certain areas of the town were not fairly treated. It isn't that they were opposed to expanding the housing, so some of those people might.
I don't know. I was just trying to think if
I
like.
understand.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
I
Well,
don't
just,
know, too hard to-
Noted.
So it's, no, I feel like you put out like a nugget there. for
Yeah,
us
right,
to, like,
exactly.
Let it marinate and
That's a good
we'll
idea,
come
Gary.
back and.
But
Because
Tina,
it
one
does
we
require
have to
some
do this
thinking on it.
before
I mean, ideally.
Before town
May.
meeting.
But we
So
can,
like
we
in
should try May.
April might be
So we have
good.
to do it in
'cause it's-
April.
but even we can come, at least I think it'd be something perfectly carried, that we can think about this
Yeah.
until the next meeting and then try to see if that's possible. And I mean, you know, it was a resounding no.
It was a resounding
And
no.
so there certainly are people that feel this way, and if we could find somebody that wants to, you know, help us push, you know, cross the finish line with the base plan, then I think you're right. I think anything is a good start from what we all went through the last couple months, so.
Well,
We go through
maybe it's
everything.
people who are running for a town meeting or whatever, they may have statements there.
That's a great idea, Cynthia, yeah. No, I mean, I can't remember when the League of Women Voters request those 3 issues.
Yeah.
That's for townwide ones, or do they?
No,
do it
it's for
they do it
town
for
meeting,
town
yes, for all
Did you go
positions.
speak to the league? You should, you spoke on behalf of what we did.
Oh, I sure did.
Yeah.
Julie has something to report.
So are you,
It was great.
Well, they don't know about
What did you
it.
talk about?
So,
It was just, I was talking about what we do at HRC.
no, the League of Women Voters
Yeah.
reached out to Tina and me.
Because we're members of the
Because we're
league.
member of
Yep.
the league, they wanted to learn about what we do here.
Yeah.
So, go,
wow,
now you can talk.
Well, it did spin out of control a little bit because,
I can't
can you turn the
imagine.
recording
I
off before
spun out
we?
of control.
Right.
We have
Yeah,
a-
to- to
Because I
adjourn
was
the
saying that there
meeting.
was so
Should
much
we
on
go
our
to?
plate. Oh, yeah. So much on our plate and we were, and everything felt really, really urgent.
Right.
So, you know, I said that we were working on sort of rattling off all of the things that we had been working on and things that we wanted to work on, such as, you know, immigration, housing, all the programming, that we're in, courageous conversations, community conversations on race.
Yeah.
The work that we do with the schools, a lot of the discrimination complaint process. So we sort of, and then sort of the big takeaway was, we're also doing this in a vacuum, and it seems like it's the sort of the same group of people over and over again, and it's very difficult to try to
Yeah,
spread that network,
Yeah.
get, you know. So their sort of questions were really about similar, they're trying to diversify the league. And, you know,
Manuel,
that
welcome.
maybe.
I'm a member of the
Yeah.
League of Women Voters, so if anybody's wondering, you
They
can,
were
yeah.
talking about maybe doing a little bit more collaboration with us or other organizations they weren't
That's a good idea.
familiar with, for example, ICON. A few people didn't really know what NDI did, you know, the immigration justice stuff. So,
Chinese Friends of. New York.
yeah, a lot of those groups they had never heard of. So sort of just trying to brainstorm to see how they could also
That's great, yeah.
diversify and get more tapped into what we're doing. I mean, they can't, not that we can either. You know, they can't really take stands on
No, they
anything.
can't, right.
They have to
They
do
do
their
support certain
research.
positions. I mean, they
Yep,
do,
they
they're
have.
very, they
Their
were
research
definitely.
positions.
Well, like
Neighborhood
voting
plans.
rights,
Yeah.
they,
No, but
Well,
they
they
took a
actually
stand on
came
the-
out for the,
they
yeah, the
came up with the
referendum.
housing
and
plan.
housing.
Yep.
They're gonna take a stand on, I think, some climate
Yeah.
stuff. But, so that's sort of what we talked about. We were brainstorming and trying to figure out how do we work together, sort of given what we're doing. And how can they diversify their organization, which is, you know, it's pretty homogeneous.
But that's an
Same thing
excellent,
we're trying to do.
yeah, but that's an excellent idea, because I mean, the league is so important in this town when it comes to
Well, I
getting out
think
factual information
they,
about
I mean,
elections.
I think they may be the strongest league in the state.
Yeah, I think
They're
that's
really
right.
strong, and then they also
are.
have,
They've got great
high
Yeah.
school, they have a high school,
Oh,
group too.
I knew that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
So they're a really strong group. I'm mostly just a dues paying member. I just support them. I
Yeah.
don't really
Yeah.
do anything, so.
Good, because we need you here.
But anyway, so they reached out and
Yeah.
I forgot about it just
Yes,
now. And
as did
Yeah,
I.
look at all
couldn't-
these great things.
I couldn't do it, but Tina could, so that was good. They didn't want 2 people anyway. They said, that's okay, we do this, and this, Marlene, you don't have to do it.
She brings enough energy for 2
Right.
people.
So that was the.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, okay.
It's good to hear.
Could- I wonder if-
It's 9:00.
Yeah.
Want me to call for adjournment?
Yes, please.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
I second, I apologize for coming in and out, but I'm in California and for some reason the cell service was a little weird.
Okay, you
Thanks
could
for
be
joining us,
third.
everybody.
except- Okay, are you gonna have a
Bye,
vote?
Marie, nice to
Okay.
see
All those
you.
in favor?
Wait a minute,
All in favor?
Taylor, do we
All
have,
in
do
favor?
we have to each
Yay.
say?
No,
or,
no.
No, okay, all in favor, yeah.
Okay, we're all in, okay.
All.
Meeting adjourned.